right, good morning, everybody. Hey, real quickly, as you're still sort of chattering, turn to someone next to you and you can just indicating how good your week was. A thumbs up is great week. Thumb to the sideways is okay week, and a thumbs down was a bad week. So just sort of show the person next to you what was your week like. So let's see, just sort of, yeah. You guys can, we have a couple of 2 thumbs up over here. I just saw one of another finger gesture, but I'm not going to share what that is about. But. All right, well, welcome. Thank you guys for being here this morning. We know that there are many places you guys could be on a Sunday, and so we're so grateful that you could be here with us, especially if you're new with us here at Newsong. We appreciate the fact that you took time out to explore us and to get a chance to get to know our community. Well, I've been here on staff working with the church for about 5 years, and, I actually have not had a chance to just share a little bit more about my personal journey to faith and sort of my journey. And so we're going to take a few minutes to do that. Story is a very powerful thing. Your personal story, the story of other people, has a lot of power. And so we want to just take a moment where I can just share a little bit about my pain and my past to just sort of get a little insight into my world. Well, there are many people here that learn different ways. People learn audibly, people learn through reading. I am a visual learner. If I can't see it, I can't understand it, which is part of the reason why I was such a terrible student. And so I use sort of this, as I sort of share, I use visuals as sort of aid in my sharing. Well, I was born in Texas. And I wore my boots to commemorate. And my parents immigrated here from Korea about a year before I was born. I lived kind of near where that arrow is. And my family, very traditional Korean family, and so with that, put me under a lot of pressures when I was a kid, right? A lot of like studying and math and science and classical music and all that stuff, and a lot of pressure. Because you know why? Because they wanted me to grow up to be a doctor. In fact, they wanted me to grow up to be McSteamy. This is who they wanted me to be. Rich and famous and handsome and all that stuff, right? In fact, I think they would even settle for Dr. Phil. But as a child, I was really struggling with this whole, what does it mean to live the American dream? And to be successful and to also be fully a part of my own cultural heritage, as well as successful in the predominant heritage around me. I grew up in a very Caucasian environment, so I was one of the few Koreans in my school, and so because of that, I really felt like I lived in 2 different worlds, sort of fish out of water, where I was living in this traditional home, but then also experiencing life as a minority among a majority. And so, in fact, here's a class picture of me. And I'm the second one on the left. And so, what I really experienced was heavy burden of stereotypes. And so, there was this, people really, when they saw me, they judged me by what I looked like. And so, I got a lot of stuff, like kind of the nerdy Asian or the kung fu fighter, or like Sulu, and the worst part, it wasn't even like cool Sulu, right? It was just like, so what that meant for me as sort of my younger years is that I stood out, and when you stand out, you get picked on, right? So I was really, I got in a lot of fights, and I got marginalized and misunderstood and all that. But in a way that was good because it really made me tough, and it really made me learn how to defend myself, as well as, oddly enough, I really learned and had a heart and a burden to defend other people. And so I kind of developed this sort of heart for other marginalized people. But the more difficult thing in my past was that, as I mentioned, my parents, because of their work ethic, they were always gone, and they were really experiencing, they were out working, and so I came home to an empty house. So a latchkey kid. And so I was kind of left to myself to entertain myself. And, it kind of led to lonely times because, I had a lot of space and a lot of unrestriction. But the positive thing about it was that it really led me to use my time creatively. And so, I'd conjure up all kinds of stories, and this is kind of where, my other persona emerged. And it's interesting enough that, I really developed sort of this appreciation for superheroes. And in a strange way, superheroes sort of raised me more than my own parents, So like, sort of dad was Superman was sort of my dad in a sense, because that was sort of my moral sort of worldview was through superheroes. Part of the main reason why I love superheroes so much still today. Well, I think the biggest thing that I was missing from my life was that just time with Dad. A father to take the time to walk me through the things of life, riding a bike, throwing a ball, helping me through the early years. And so I really missed that. I would go over to friend's house and see their dad like involved in their life and always wanting that and just feeling like I feel like a misfit. I felt like a mutant actually. And I felt so different because my dad wasn't like other dads. Except, I wasn't as cool looking as that. But